Morning folks, it's Andy, the Expedition Hiker, and today we're on a historical tour of the town of Newark in Nottinghamshire. Now, I didn't realise that how much history this place had until I started researching it. Behind me we have Newark Castle, and actually it was a significant building in the actual English Civil War, the first of the three English Civil Wars, which started in 1642 and based in Nottingham. King Charles I raised the standard at Nottingham Castle, and then the war started. And this route is going to take us about 12 miles. There is an English Civil War trail that you can do within the town itself. It is quite a large market town. So we're going to extend that walk, and we're going to walk along a perimeter line that I found on an old English Civil War map. And we're going to expand on that, go across further locations, more than you would see in the town itself. With that, we best go. So today we are on a mission to find out all about this historical town with its connection to King Charles I and seek out the locations of how the battles ended. We start at Newark Castle and then head into this large market town. As we follow the Civil War trail, then we head to the magnificent Kelham Hall with the Trent Way. Along the way we'll pass Civil War readouts, onwards along the River Trent to Muscombe Bridge, passing further earthworks before heading to the King's Marina and the King's Sconce. Then to Beacon Hill, where battle was fought in 1644. Afterwards we'll follow the Civil War perimeter line downwards to Horton, where we'll then turn and head to the Queen's Sconce, and via the Trent head back to our start point by the castle. This route works out to be around 12 miles.
Newark Castle by the River Trent was built in 1135 after King Henry I granted the Bishop of Lincoln permission to build a castle. Alexander, the third Bishop of Lincoln, who was also known as Alexander the Magnificent, for his luxurious and attention-seeking lifestyle. He built the castle, which included its own mint and the largest gateway to any castle in England still today. In 1216, King John died at the castle after eating too many unripe peaches. The castle was controlled by the church until the Reformation, and then control was seized by the crown. By the 1600s, Newark became of a strategic importance because it controlled one of the main north-south routes, the Fossway, Great North Road and the River Trent.
So we're just outside the old Corn Exchange by the end of Stodman Street. And we'll head down Stodman Street as it's got a couple of interesting buildings. There's one we can see just about in front of us. The building on the right hand side, the timber building, is the Prince Rupert. The actual building was here 200 years before the English Civil War. Now we're heading down Stodman Street. Now I believe there's another building up the right hand side at the moment. It's got historical value. So we've just arrived in Newark Market Place. just below the window, you can just see left-hand corner a bit of a hole, and that's meant to be a cannon that the Parliamentarians fired towards the castle, but obviously missed and hit the church instead. Constance Penswick Smith, 1878 to 1933. He revived Mothering Sunday, and he attended a school in this building just here. Anyway, we're going to head back towards the marketplace now. This is the entrance to the National Civil War Museum with one of its old cannons. Now, the Civil War Museum is not open today, so if you're coming on a Sunday, don't go to the museum because it's not open. The old King's Arms. Now, although this has been painted over the years, it doesn't look that old, but it's actually the curtain wall for the garrison that went alongside the river. Well, we've managed to cross the A46 and the A617, and as you can see, we're walking across the rugby pitch now, which is part of the Trent Valley Way. Now, if I remember right, the Trent Valley Way is 108 miles long. It starts at Long Eaton in Nottingham, or by Shardlow, and then heads all the way to where it meets the River Humber. To our right, we've got a big factory over there, shuffling out some smoke. And that is the famous sugar factory. I'm guessing they make sugar in there. Just a wild guess, just a wild one. Anyway, we're gonna head this way. It's meant to be a redoubt on my left-hand side, somewhere around here. Now, there's not much to see here now, but back in the day, in the 1600s, there was some earthworks here. The earthworks was called a redoubt. Now, you may think, what is a redoubt? Well, let me tell you. When the Civil War was happening, what they did is they had these little fortifications. They built them on a flat platform, and then they would put a cannon, an artillery location. And these points were all dotted around the outside of Newark, and they were to protect the garrison from the Parliamentarians trying to attack. But in 1646, Parliamentarians managed to attack Newark. Then the guns were turned the opposite way. So rather than facing outwards towards the open fields across that way, they went the opposite way, facing towards Newark Castle and the garrison. We're probably about a kilometre away from the town of Newark and the castle, and I think it's called Crankley Point. Anyway, from here, we're going to go on to our next point, of course, and that's Kelham Hall. It's got a lot of history, and in particular, something to do with the King. So we're nearing Kelham Hall. It's a bit big from here. Let's get a bit closer. It'll look even bigger when we're right next to it. There's two churches on the site of Kelham Hall. This being slightly away from the actual hall, and by the looks of it, it's older, probably dating back to about the 12th, 13th century. It's not related to the Civil War, but I've just come across these graves within the grounds of Kelham Hall. Slightly unusual to them, I've never seen it like this before. I thought they were going to be war graves, but if you notice, it all says, second line down, which is of his profession. So Edwin Cosgrove, 29th of the 12th, 67, in his 61st year of his profession, aged 84 years. And to the side of that, we've got Leslie Pierce, 31st of the 3rd, 67. In the 45th year of his profession, aged 76 years. Okay, I'm getting it now. These are part of the actual society. As you can see here, Herbert Hamilton Kelly, priest, founder of the Society of the Sacred Mission, called to rest at the 15th of October 1950, in the 57th year of his profession, aged 90 years. So these are all members of the Society of the Sacred Mission who lived at Kelham Hall for a period of time.
These rooms where you could sort of do chill out rooms where people could just sit and relax whilst they're waiting either to go in or when they've come out. Or this is my favourite room. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Wow. Is that fabric or
No,
paper?
I think it is actually, well, it's...
And the roof, wow, it's like a ship.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh my. It's a big spider. You can see what you meant about Istanbul though. So after my guided tour of the Kelham Hall, or the ground floor anyway, now this building obviously looked aged to the original part of the Kelham Hall, and it's actually built for the monks. This is their accommodation. This order, I'd never heard of it before, the Society of Sacred Mission. There was over 500 monks that lived in the building. Well, I'm not sure how much I actually recorded of that. The lady helped me no end. I didn't think I'd actually get a big tour of Kelham Hall inside. But it's a wedding venue now. It used to be called Kelham Hall Wedding Venues. Now it's actually just the Renaissance. But as you can see, quite a grand building inside and out. And I was very privileged to get the chance to see that. And you have too. And if you want to get married here, well, there's a grand place to do so. We're going to head along Broadgate Lane towards Muscombe Bridge. Well, it's an interesting walk so far. So far we've been to Newark Castle, started to find out about the garrison. Then we followed up to the Redoubt and up to Kelham Hall, where King Charles I spent a few days in prison. The grand building it is today was spectacular, including the Great Hall and its dome, where the monks lived. When I first read about that, I thought it was some sort of cult. The accommodation, there was over 500 monks lived there at one point, but numbers dropped and then they sold that to the local council, and the lady told me that they sold the whole of Kelham Hall estate. Guess how much? Yes, £250,000 in 1973. Now inflation's gone up a bit over the years, but that still sounds a lot like a good price. Anyway, we're going to head along this track for a little while, and it's going to take us up to Muscombe Bridge and to a further redoubt and a battery. Then we're going to follow the perimeter wall that was part of the garrison of the great stronghold of Newark Castle for the Royalists through the First Civil War. So hopefully you're enjoying it as I enjoy making these videos. And I've got a few more walks I'm aiming to do similar to this. If you like it, you know what to do. Subscribe, click a like, click a comment. The red brickwork behind me is part of Muscombe Bridge. It was built in 1536 and it connected to a drawbridge that crossed over the River Trent. It was later used as the main gateway by the Parliamentarian forces in the final siege of Newark in 1645. Later the drawbridge was destroyed and we have the new concrete bridge that took its place that crosses the River Trent. As we stand on the bridge, standing over the River Trent, we can see it's a little structure. But beyond that, we can see a earthwork, as in a round circular section. Now this was one of the other redoubts, a fortification area that sat alongside the river that headed towards Newark. As we can see, Muscombe Bridge, the first bridge, was destroyed during the Civil War in 1652. Now that was the bridge that was the drawbridge. Now by the looks of it, the river has expanded in its bank over the years, because I'm sure it wouldn't be in a drawbridge this big. As we head over the river, I've just come across this, a structure. Now it's not marked on the map what it is. It does look old. As we've just passed an earthwork, I presume it's some part of the fortifications. Now, although these trees have all grown since, where I'm standing now, just in front, there's a slight elevation of ground. It was a battery, so this would have been an artillery position, originally protecting the garrison by the Royalists. And then when the Parliamentarians took the bridge, I'm sure they took this area soon after and turned it on the garrison. You can see actually it's quite blackish smoke that's coming out actually, and since I've been walking around Newark, I've seen that that's just constantly been blowing out like that. Even the power station doesn't look so bad compared to this. Homegrown sugar, so British sugar. So rather than getting it from foreign territories, it's all grown here and then produced here. That sugary thing that we all like to have, but it's bad for us. As we walk alongside the River Trent, down towards the King's Sconce on the left hand side, we've got the King's Marina. Well, we've got a busy main road in front of us, but to our right, we've got this earthworks here. Now, there's not much left of it, but this used to be part of the King's Sconce. So the sconce was an earthwork built to protect the approach of the northern part of the town. It is reported that the sconce was very strong and high with camouflaged ditches. The site was demolished in 1856 to make way for the Great Northern Railway, but later today we will come across a sconce that is near enough intact. So our next point of call on our Civil War trail is Beacon Hill, which is up this little hill in front. So I now stand at Beacon Hill, and Beacon Hill had a battle in 1644. During the second siege in March 1644, the Royalist commander, Prince Rupert, occupied this hill with his forces as a prelude to mounting a cavalry charge, which dislodged the besieging Parliamentary forces from their positions. So the path we're walking on now is part of the cycle network Route 64. It's actually also the perimeter line of the Garrison of Newark. Walking with the geese. What we've been doing today is walking most of the line of where the redoubts are, the sconces, batteries, and some of the significant buildings within the garrison. And as I say, at the moment we're walking along the eastern side of the perimeter line of the garrison. So we're going to continue walking down this way for a little while, probably about another mile actually, and then we're going to head down to a place called Horton. Just sitting there, and there's another one to the left, and there's one up here. As I mentioned a moment ago about the perimeter line, you can see all the earthworks that's been brought up along this wall side of the garrison. So just beyond the pylon to the left hand side is the little village or hamlet of Horton. So the village of Horton played an important part in the English Civil War. There's a large Roundhead encampment. The camp based by the River Devon is 2 miles south of the stronghold, but hidden away. It became a place where hundreds of troops could regather and rest before the final battles to take control of the Newark's Royalist stronghold. The second siege of Newark had highlighted the weaknesses of the garrison's defences, and 2 new earthwork forts were constructed. The Queen's Sconce here, and the other being the King's Sconce where we visited earlier. Queen's Sconce was built upon a knoll, positioned to cover approaches by road or river to the town from the south. It was named after the wife, Charles I, Henrietta Maria of France. Queen's Sconce is one of Europe's most well-preserved earthwork fortifications, as it controlled the gateway to the north. Built in 1644, it played a key part in the Royalist defences during the Third Siege of Newark, after which the town was ordered by King Charles I to be surrendered to the Parliamentarians. The sconce is one of the few forts that still survive that was only left untouched because the victorious Parliamentary army fled because of fears of the plague. This sconce measures 130 times 120 metres and is 9 metres high, with bastions that protect in 4 directions. The corners of the ramparts were built as platforms for firing artillery. From the sky, the sconce looks like a star shape. You can see each corner, the flat sections for the artillery, and over our left side we've got a cannon, decorative cannon, not obviously original, showing where the cannons would have been located. And you see these neat banks would have been teams of soldiers to protect the southern side of the town. And the town is gone that way near the church, which we'll be heading to in a moment. A pillar box for Edward VII. The house behind, it's quite a large property. Right guys, we're back where we started. We're back at Newark Castle. And that's the Civil War walk of Newark. And if you'd like me to do any more routes like this where we go all in with the history, let me know. I know there are a few other places to go to. Please let me know if you think that I've done a good job with this Civil War tour of Newark, this garrison stronghold. Right, so with that, I'm going to say, if you haven't subscribed, please do. Please share, please add a like, and please comment. So until then, take care, look after yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye, hikers.